Hi everyone, Chris has kindly invited me to do a really quick video just talking about sort of my journey to a training contract and lessons that I've sort of picked up along the way. So my background is I was previously in the funeral industry, amongst other things, mostly retail and hospitality, things like that. I'm 35 with 3 children, so the majority of my legal education was completed as a working parent. And it's been a long sort of road for me, but along the way there's a lot of things that I've learned, and we all know sort of the qualifications and the obvious things that somebody needs to become a lawyer. So the law degree, the LPC or the bar course, the extracurricular stuff like mooting, going to court, becoming involved with societies, and all those things are great. But I think what's also great is to be yourself, and that's really sort of cliche, but there's nothing wrong with being authentic. And I think you have to remember that when you're interviewing, that firm or that organisation is looking for the person that they're going to have to work with every day. Are you the right fit for them? Are they the right fit for you? So looking at those sort of interpersonal skills really helps. Be honest with yourself, be willing to take advice and feedback, and it's not always easy to hear, but it's essential to know sort of where you're going wrong, where you're going right, and where the gaps are sort of in your skills that you could work on. I worked with a lot of great people. I was a paralegal for 1.5 years at Shoesmiths prior to commencing my training contract with the Crown Prosecution Service in March 2020. So I took all of that and I kept trying. I didn't give up. There'll be a lot of times that you're told sort of no, or not this time, or it's not the right time. And that's an experience that I think a lot of us are quite familiar with. I've had many training contract rejections, more than I could probably count off the top of my head right now. The CPS training contract I applied for 3 times before I was successful. The video interview was where I kept falling down, because I find that sort of situation, sort of as this is, very unnatural, sort of talking to a camera, not a person, and looking back at yourself. So I practiced and took all the advice on board that I was given. Approached people in more sort of senior positions than I was to ask them questions, and from day one at Shoesmiths I basically just decided to sort of be a sponge and just try and soak in as much as I could. Also learning how a law firm operated as a business in practice, and just what clients are looking for really. They're not looking for you to talk to them in legalese. The fact that you've got legal knowledge to them is a given. They want you to take a problem and solve it and be practical in a way that's good for either them as a person or as a business, depending on what sort of area of law you're working in. So you have to think of ways that you've developed skills along the way that can apply to the firm or the organisation in practice. So my skills from the funeral industry weren't directly legal skills, but I had to think of ways that I could transfer those across and use those skills in order to sort of propel myself forward. Thorough research and target applications are the next thing I wanted to briefly touch upon. Blanket applications from experience and from other people I know and their experience, they don't work. I think they're obvious to employers when you're doing those applications, and you're also more likely to make a mistake, especially if you're copy pasting. It's just generally speaking a bad idea. And I felt like when you do more targeted applications and more honing in on the places that you're really, really interested in, it comes across and your application is of better quality and you have more success. Lastly, I just wanted to briefly talk about sort of gaining experience of the industry, which is invaluable. You learn so much, as I spoke about before. Not only that, networking, using LinkedIn, and this is not from a case, in the spirit of saying it's not what you know, it's who you know. I don't necessarily agree that that's the case. I think the purpose of networking and why I have found it so good is it's a wealth of information and advice that you can sort of tap into. You can find out about people's journeys, and you can ask them for advice based on your own circumstances. And generally speaking, most lawyers are pretty happy to sort of help if people approach them politely, of course. LinkedIn's a really good resource for that, and the legal world can be sort of quite small in that respect, that everybody knows everybody, and it's just going to court, things like that. Not only are you networking with people, but without maybe even realising it, you're learning at the same time, you're watching proceedings, and it's also a really good way of testing if this profession is really what you expected, if it's for you. So I think that, yeah, those are the sort of things that have struck me most along the way as I've been going on. And if anyone has any questions, I'm quite happy for Chris to put them in touch with me. So thanks very much for listening, and bye-bye.